2023 is in the rear view mirror. What do you need to do in 2024 to make sure that your STR business is maximizing its profits? We're going to talk about that with Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Hey, Team Fearless, I just want to take a quick break from this podcast to talk about funding your furnishings. If you're listening to the Fearless Investor Podcast, then you probably want to do the Airbnb arbitrage model. Reason being, it's a low barrier of entry, right? $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to buy furniture with someone else's property. And sure, you can use your own bank account or you can raise the money at a low interest rate from a friend or family member. But wouldn't you rather get that money at 0% interest, aka free money? That's what my friends at Pathway Financial can do for you. Pathway Financial helps people like you get 0% interest credit cards so you don't have to have the financial stress of putting down a ton of money up front for your deals. Think about that for a second. How many arbitrage deals could you do if money was not a concern? Well, that could be the exact possibility with Pathway Financial's help. Get a free quote from them today. Go to fearlesskyle.com/pathway financial to find out how much you can get pre-approved for right now. And don't worry, it won't have any impact on your credit score because it's a soft inquiry. So go once again to fearlesskyle.com/pathway financial and get that free quote. Hey guys, we are now a few weeks into the new year, and I'm just wondering, what are you doing to be able to adapt in this new environment of short-term rentals? And one of the things that we talk about with this episode with Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh was that, really 2021, 2022, those were numbers that were post-COVID that were really inflated because a lot of people were doing staycations. They were all kind of just bundled up inside for a year, and then they were just so eager to get out that they spent all their money on vacations. And so for that reason, 2021 and 2022 were just amazing for short-term rentals. There was so much demand. Then supply started to, in some areas, outweigh demand, and it became really important to adapt and to make sure that you were doing things differently than the competition. Well, there's still things that you're needing to adapt to, and that's exactly what I talked with Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh about. She's got a really awesome event that I'm a part of, that a few friends are a part of, that are coming up about exactly this, reviving your short-term rental business. And so I'm going to encourage you to go check that out while we're on this conversation or even after the conversation. But Dr. Rachel is a good friend of the show. She's been on multiple times. We've gone to Cabo, we've gone to Colorado with each other. We've been able to have a lot of really cool experiences and learn from each other in this short-term rental industry. So buckle up. Let's listen to what Dr. Rachel has to say about advancing and reviving your business here in 2024. Hey guys, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. It's me, Kyle Stanley, and I'm here with Rachel Gainsbrugh, Dr. Rachel to be exact. And if you don't know who Dr. Rachel is, I'm sorry. You've just been living under a rock because she is one of the top dogs in short-term rentals, midterm stays, insurance, and all that good stuff. And we have done trips together. We have gone to Cabo. We've gone to Colorado. We have tons of content together. This is like podcast number 3 or 4.
Right?
Yeah. And the reason that we wanted to bring Dr. Rachel back on is because, not just because of her expertise, but because of the people that she's surrounding herself with, and is going to be delivering high level content for you in 2024, especially in an event coming up here soon that we're going to talk about, to be able to maximize your profits in 2024, which is super exciting for me. So Dr. Rachel, thanks for jumping on once again.
Oh, thank you so much, Kyle, for having me. We've experienced quite a bit over the last few years, and it's just been such a pleasure getting to know you, your family, and getting into this STR space and leveraging all of that information to support our community. So I'm really excited to see what's coming down the pike for 2024, because I know that, many people in our community are questioning which is the best next steps for them. And so if we can provide some direction, some insight from some experts in the industry, I think that'll, help everyone out.
Well, yeah. And, speaking of experts, that is exactly you. I mean, you've been on a TV show, so you're an expert. If you didn't know, Dr. Rachel was on a Netflix show, which was really cool to see. But, with your background and literally leaving the medical field,
Yeah.
a very well-paid job. And what I love about your model is low number of properties,
Yeah.
highest profitability on each one of those. And so it's very, I would say, in line with what you teach, that we would
Yeah.
be talking today about maximizing profitability, because that's what you do on each of your properties. So, let's just talk about 2023 before we jump into 2024. What was business like for you in 2023? What kind of things, what bumps and bruises did you go through, and how did you pivot?
Oh, that's such a great question. So I would say we started to see the real numbers in 2023, right? Because
Mm,
prior to that, we're still living our best lives with
post COVIDness.
the right, the post-COVID numbers. And so we had to get really strategic and laser focused on what those numbers were looking like. There were seasons where the cash flow was lower than our expectations.
Mm,
And so in order to forecast, you got to kind of plan ahead and understand that, okay, because January looks like, oh my gosh, we're barely breaking even, then what is that going to look like during the next few months in our destination markets? And so the next few months, say in the peak seasons, we outperformed our competition. And how do you normalize that across all 12 months, which is something that we didn't really have to heavily go into previously. But now it's like, okay, no need to panic. We're breaking even, but then you'll see a 3x, 4x, 10x in the peak seasons. And so normalizing that and maintaining that cash flow. And that's something that we're going to talk about because if you don't have cash, that's stressful, right? If you don't feel like
mm,
there's cash flow coming in to manage your business, to pay your team, that could get a little bit dicey, and that's what we saw in the destination markets. Some of those lower seasons were really impactful, and then the peak seasons pulled us through. But for our suburban markets, the midterm rentals, especially um, as we're hosting the those who are displaced from their home due to the disaster, that was really steady. Um, all year all year. We had about 8 or 9 days of vacancy.
wow.
Uh, yeah, which was amazing.
Over how many properties?
6 properties.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
are all of these in Georgia?
Yes. For
Okay.
the midterm rentals, yes. Mhm, they are.
So, that's been the hot topic, right? And we just
Yeah.
had, we did a live webinar with Ruben. I know you've been doing a
Yes.
lot of stuff with him.
He's
Uh,
in my backyard too.
he
Yes, I
he's
love
awesome.
Ruben.
He's awesome.
Yes.
And, it seems like there's more and more people talking about midterm rentals. So,
Yes.
the devil's advocate question that I have is, 3, 4 years ago, everyone was starting to coach short-term rentals, teach short-term
Mm.
rentals. You and I were kind of getting into that realm as well. And then, a lot of people blame, quote unquote, the coaches for saturating short-term rentals in the short-term rental market, right? Which, we're not going to say whether or not that's the case. But where I'm leaning with that, my question becomes like, is the number of people that are talking about midterm rentals now, it feels like, from an outsider's perspective, the potential demand isn't as high on midterm rentals from an insurance side, especially because that's really the sweet spot. Is it possible to flood the market with midterm rentals, and then suddenly now we're looking for another type of strategy, and before you know it, we're all just back to long-term rentals? That's the devil's advocate question I got for you.
Oh, that's a good question. The way I am evaluating it is based on the actual demand. So, what I know, according to Scientific American, is that more than 3 million Americans were displaced in 2022. More
Okay.
than 3 million Americans were
Wow.
displaced in 2022.
Wow.
And so what else do I know? I know that long-term rental hosts, are they called hosts? They're called landlords, right? Long-term
Yeah.
rental landlords. Oh, there's an education gap when it comes to hosting this avatar. So if
Mhm.
the ALE solutions, if these agencies reach out to them and say, "Hey, can we do a month to month with the option to extend?" The default answer is absolutely not.
Mm.
Right? And they don't want any part of it. They want their 12 months and they're good to go.
Yeah.
And so you have those 2 things contending with that, the marketplace. And oftentimes I get an inquiry that I can't necessarily fulfill. And
Yeah.
so that's why I'm passionate about growing this community because it is a different it's a different vibe. So midterm rentals is definitely a team sport. How many times, Kyle, did you encounter a situation where you get this lead and you can't fulfill it? And you have to reach out to maybe a colleague in your market and say, "Hey, do you have availability?" And because these guests, you're staying there, you get 2 bookings and you're good for the year,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and sometimes it doesn't even take two. Sometimes it only takes one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a
So
team sport. It really is. And so I love that part about it. It's not the feeding frenzy of the STR. Everyone's like race to the bottom. Let me lower my price to get that booking because these are just 2 nights. One booking can block your calendar for the year in the best way
yeah,
possible. And so that's what I love about it.
awesome. So before we get into other strategies, right? Because we just
Mhm.
talked about midterm rentals, I don't want to get too far without talking about your summit coming up.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that for a second, we're going to be, and guys, the reason I'm talking about it now is because we are going to be mentioning a few strategies where experts are going to be coming in and talking about these strategies at Dr. Rachel's summit. So you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Kyle, for being one of our experts that will be speaking and sharing about how to just really look at the marketplace and meet a need. And I know that is your passion. You're always looking for ways to serve others in your market. And so if we put on our lens of service, how do we serve? That's where the opportunities start to flow. And so I appreciate what you do in the co-hosting space and the coaching space where you're an open book, you're teaching others how to create this revenue stream outside of their normal w2s, and that opens you up for more opportunities. So cannot wait to discuss the co-hosting strategy that you're going to be sharing. If we see an opportunity for a deal to make that happen, especially since we are a lot of us are short-term rental hosts, we can identify quickly, well, this property does not look like it is well managed or well maintained. Is that an opportunity for us to
Yeah.
connect with how to get to join the community to get to understanding of how do we approach that individual? How do we then begin to serve them in a way that's a win-win situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So what other ways are not only going to be taught here, but in your event, right? And then by the way,
Yep,
guys, I just put that in the link or in the comments right now. If you're here live with us, you can take a look at that. If you're watching the replay on YouTube or listening on the podcast, it's in the show notes and description below. And we want to talk about this for a second, though. What are some other strategies to
yep.
maximize revenue here in 2024?
Other strategies, of course, we spoke a little bit earlier about cash flow, right? If you don't have enough cash flow, you will be stressed out in your business. And so making sure that we mitigate risk by building up a cash reserve and having a system in place to make sure that month after month we're able to cover our expenses, forecast appropriately. And we're bringing on Relay Fi, they're a sponsor. I love the profit first method that Mike McAllowitz developed. And I got to tell you, that has saved my bacon in the beginning of business, just trying to figure out who to pay first. I always ate last, but with profit first, it just really changed the way that we manage our finances inside of our business. So if you
Can you
don't
talk
have a
about that just for a second? What
yeah.
you said you used to eat last. Now, after Profit First, you've changed things. What exactly have you changed for those that haven't read that book?
Sure. So, as a small business owner, I think our business is like our third child, right? So, you want to feed it and feed it and feed it and watch it grow. But where is the reward if you're not getting paid from your business, right? And so, I think this is something that a lot of new entrepreneurs they face. And with Profit First, you're able to allocate an income for yourself, even if it's a small one to start, because it's based on percent allocations. You're able to pay yourself a profit share once the profits start rolling in, which is amazing. You're able to set aside funds for a team to build team. You're able to set aside funds for operations and all the things that your business need. And you do that on a bi-monthly basis. So we have an automation that we use inside of RelayFi where you allocate the funds and we have an income bucket. All the income comes in. And then on the 10th, and the 25th of the month, it gets divvied out, it splits into the different percentages, and they all go into their own little wallet, and then it grows that way. And so I think that that system has helped me out a lot because otherwise I'm just, I don't know, maybe I have like a high pain tolerance. I would just probably never pay myself, because I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
want to keep throwing it at the business. So that forced me to pay myself. And it changes your mindset. It's like, oh, I'm actually making money in this business. Like it's a in the back of your mind, you feel like, okay, you get this reward and you've earned it. I mean, you went out there and you built a business. So yeah, I think it keeps you in line a little bit so that you don't overdo it with, investing in the business without letting yourself reap a bite of the apple.
Cool. So Relay is going to be talking about both
Yes,
what they do and also the how to use this in kind of the profit first model at
yes,
your event. Is that correct?
yes, yes. I think that's really important. Yeah. So they're going to talk about the percent allocations and profit first, which I think is cool. And
Awesome. So,
mhm,
what if we got someone here right now that let's just say they've got somewhere between 1 to 5 properties. They just got started, and we're talking about revival, right? We're talking about bringing
yes,
things back to life.
yes.
And they're saying, hey, I just got started, and just the numbers just aren't nearly as sexy as I thought they were going to be. And I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around learning even the basics to maximize my listing, to increase visibility, to price things correctly. What's something that kind of person could be doing right now to say, let's increase profits 20% on each one of our listings for 2024?
Mm,
Not going down the midterm rental, not going down, any of the crazy, well, they're not crazy. They work, but without having to change their business model, right? Just focusing in on their actual portfolio. What are a few things right now you could say to that person that struggled in 2023?
that's a really good question. I think it's going to take a really good dose of honesty, like doing an honest assessment of your property. If you've hosted in your property, your past guests are such a great resource. And I'm sure they've told you everything that's wrong with the property. And some of which you can implement minor changes now, some of which you take with a grain of salt. But I would collect all of that information in order to see how I can make improvements upon that property if it's warranted, right? And so and also if it's within your budget. I would look at that. I would look at two more levers. And what I love about this business is we can pull a lot of levers. It doesn't always have to be, get more properties, get more properties.
Right.
I'm such an advocate for optimizing. Let's optimize the properties that we already have, and let's see what strategies we can develop, to make sure that we are taking full advantage. So, operations, how are your reviews? Of course, Kyle, he's a master and he has like a master class on how to get those top reviews. How are reviews? What are those pain points? Is it cleaning, which we know is really going to be detrimental to your bottom line.
Mm,
Okay. So just be really honest about that. You may need to fire your cleaner. I'm not talking to anyone in particular, but
yeah.
you know who you are, who needs to fire your cleaner. No offense. But if you've worked on developing them and it's not working, then you may need to look for a cleaning team that is more in alignment with getting you those reviews. And outside of that, just with that same listing, looking at your pricing. How's
Mhm.
your pricing? Are you leveraging dynamic pricing or is it a set it and forget it? Are you looking at it from week to week? Are you looking at how your competitors are priced? Uh, those are really some of the things that I think are very important. And these are tools that we can use right here, right now, today, even. Take a look at your reviews, take a look at what others are saying about properties that are in your market that they love, look at what they hate, and see how you can be the value in your marketplace. I want everyone in your community to own their marketplace. And that's
Yeah.
how we do it, leveraging that research.
I would say just to add to that, right? And maybe I'm speaking now to more of the 5 and more operators. Even I know Michael Crockett was commenting on this earlier, so maybe he's still listening. Maybe I'm talking to that kind of person. Checking our egos at the door too. Um, one of the things that
It
we are
hurts though,
doing,
it hurts, Kyle.
yeah, well, especially if you run into the door like I probably would. Um, so I mean, what one of the things that we're doing here in 2024 was really difficult, to be completely honest, for me. We're testing out a pricing, dynamic pricing, basically, operator, someone who's an expert
Nice,
in pricing. And
nice.
that for me was like, well, I'm the expert. And what's funny, Rachel, is that he just sent us back some of our prices, and here I was coming in. I was like, hey, like June, the first week of June is just so low price. Let's bump that up. And he said, well, actually, this time last year, that same week of June was only 14% occupied in your market. And I was like, man, even for me, like, I just don't have enough time to dive into all of that. And this
Mhm.
guy's going to charge, I mean, it's stupid low how much he's charging. He could charge so much more,
Yeah.
but it made sense from an ROI standpoint. It didn't make sense from a mindset standpoint, because I was just like, but I'm so good at pricing already. I think we have to do some of those things today. I think we have to be okay with saying we don't have to be the expert or the jack of all trades in all parts of our business. Maybe it's time to bring in pricing experts. Maybe it's time to
Mhm.
bring in VAs who are going to edit our listings better than us, and maybe promote our properties in groups better than us, and do the things that we don't necessarily have the time to do,
Yep.
because we're either juggling another job, or juggling family, we're juggling all these different things. I don't know. What do you think? Is that have you, just that concept? Have you had to do anything like that, of just like, oh, this doesn't feel like I should be doing this, but I'm just going to do it? And did you see results?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, we have. So, I've had a revenue manager consultant for years. So I absolutely love that. And again, I'm a spreadsheet girl, I'm a numbers girl, and I'm on top of it. But there are things that they catch that I don't catch. And
Yeah.
so that's enough for me to recognize that in order to, really get that expertise and secure the bag in my revenue, I need someone who's that's their main focus. That's all he does.
Yeah.
I do so many things, so I love that. On kind of the personal business side, for the businesses, I have hired a CFO, so
Mhm.
that's a little bit different, right? I know that's not what we're speaking about at the moment, but oh my goodness,
Still letting go of control.
still letting go and control and
Yeah.
recognizing, yeah, I don't think I did a really good job with CFOing, like, so
Yeah.
I and it's been night and day. It's been
Mm.
amazing getting my dashboards provided to me, and they're fractional, which has been great. And so loving that, because it's interesting how like you're managing a business, but you have to also manage the pricing, the cash flow, the operations, and just having those people buffer in
Yeah.
between. It's like, okay, it's a good feeling for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you got a couple other people that are going to be at this STR CPR revival
Yeah.
event, and one of them is our good friend Lame
Love
Kinnikin.
it.
Um, yeah, I mean, have you dove into the creative financing space at all yourself?
I have. You know what? My coach, my first real estate coach, Stacy, she actually manages and focuses on storage facilities, believe it or not,
Oh,
which is
nice.
hilarious. But she is such a deal maker that she helped me secure some of my first luxury properties using creative finance.
Oh,
And
great.
so, yeah, so I would tell her, well, I want to do storage facility. Are you trying to hold out on me? She goes, no, you're the luxury girl. Stay in your lane. And so I'm so grateful for coaches that like make me stay in my lane and
Yeah.
not try to do 200 things. But yeah, so she was my first coach. We did an owner finance and a subject to back in the day.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, and so it's market specific, right? There's sometimes in our economy in the market where I feel those strategies are the most beneficial, and sometimes potentially not so much. But I feel like this is the time to everyone needs to be familiar with creative finance. Either way, you have to know how to, take down a variety of deals because you have expertise. If you're in this community, you have expertise that the vast majority of investors do not have. And I don't know if you get this question a lot, Kyle. Like someone asked me the other day, well, why wouldn't they manage their own property as an STR? Why would they entrust that to me? Or why wouldn't they,
Mhm.
you know, take this deal down and turn it into an STR? But I don't think that the common STR host understands that most people don't want to do the work that it takes. You're
Yeah.
running a business, you have operations, you have dynamic pricing, you have
Yep.
customer service, and if you don't have that in place, I don't blame them for not wanting to do all the things.
We just bought a property in Kentucky, and you can bet your butt I am not managing that thing. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know any of the streets. I don't know any of the stuff going on in there. I don't know what events are happening over the weekends.
Yeah.
I'm hiring a manager who lives in that area that knows what to
Mhm.
promote and has a good track record for sure. Um,
Yeah.
You know, and for those of you that don't know who we're talking about with creative financing, Lame Kinney, he's going to be at this event. He has bought close to 100 doors in the last 2 years with creative financing using none of his own money. And the guy has become I mean, it really feels like a success overnight, but he's definitely going to be worth checking out there. Who else do you have at this event, and what will they be teaching?
Okay, so I have Tim Spiker. He's actually my revenue manager consultant.
Oh, there you
So
go.
Tim, yeah, Tim is awesome. He has a dynamic pricing tool that he developed and he sold to another organization. And he is going to be talking about the principles of dynamic pricing and how to reveal and secure deals that are out there in the market. So one of the
Nice.
biggest things that I think I'm concerned about is a lot of people, Kyle, they didn't run the numbers before getting into STRs. Have you ran into that too?
Oh, all the time. It's probably the reason why everyone has said of Airbnb bust because no one did their numbers.
No one ran the numbers. So imagine having a dynamic pricing individual outside of, you're going to run your numbers, but actually having a dynamic pricing individual to come in and show you, hey, these markets can produce this type of revenue
Yeah.
based on that expertise. So I like to reverse engineer things like that too. So
Yeah.
revenue management is not just one sided, it's two sides of the coin, I think.
Awesome. Okay, guys, again, this is going down February 2nd,
Yes.
4 to 8 Eastern time. That's PM, not AM. And it's going to be the STR CPR Revival Summit, hosted by Dr. Rachel here. So
Yeah.
if you are wanting to check it out, it's $97. Is that all it is?
I think it is. Yeah, just
Okay.
97 bucks. Bring a friend. It's gonna
Yeah.
be fun,
Heck
and
yeah.
there's gonna be replays if you can't make it live. There's gonna be replays, but join us live so you can get your questions answered.
Cool. Be there. The link is in. If you are here on the Six Figure Formula live, it's in the comments. If you're
Yeah.
watching on replay or listening on replay, it is in the description or the show notes. So go check it out. Dr. Rachel, any other wisdom, anything else you're working on in your business in 2024 that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, so I'm continuing to run the numbers. We're gonna look at our operations. Sometimes with investing, the properties and the whole operation side can be a leaky bucket. So we're looking to shore that up. Again, not necessarily acquiring 20, 40, 50 properties,
Yeah.
but how do we shore up the leaky bucket and optimize? So we're gonna be talking about that there as well, and really optimizing our listing. How do we optimize that listing and breathe life back into our STR business? And so that's
Cool.
what the STR CPR Revival Summit is all about.
I can't wait to join you there. Thanks so much, Dr. Rachel, for helping us to conquer the world of short-term rentals here in 2024. You're awesome.
Thank you.
So go check that out. Only $97. Again, it's in the YouTube description down below or in the podcast show notes. That's going to be a very, very, very powerful event. And especially with people like Lame, they're going to be on there talking about how he's buying tons of houses through creative financing. Places like Relay talking about how to be able to manage the money properly. This is just all really great information for you to be able to be a better business owner in short-term rentals in 2024. I hope you'll check that out, and hope you'll also continue to subscribe, comment, leave reviews, and be a part of all of our content here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. That's going to do it for us here on the Fearless Investor Podcast, where we are helping you to conquer the world of short-term rentals. See you next time.